Thank you, Zoom. All right. So, hello, awesome people. My name is Mary, and I am one of the Friendly Teen Services librarians here in the East Baton Rouge Parish Library System. And I would like to welcome everybody who is watching this either live or later on YouTube. I would like to welcome you to the very first ever Interview a Professional program. And we have a very awesome guest who has been so great to agree to come and talk to us about what she does for a living. Would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. So my name is Emily Michon, and I work at the LSU FACES Lab. I work as a forensic anthropologist, and I do have three different titles here. So I work as the laboratory manager, and I'm also public outreach coordinator, and yeah, forensic anthropologist. So yeah, like three things that I'll go by. Let's see what else. I think that's it.
Well, why don't we go ahead and start off with what is a forensic anthropologist?
Well, a forensic anthropologist is pretty much somebody who's applying anthropological methods and theory in a legal setting. So this could actually be a lot of different things. It's not just what you see on TV or, what we do here specifically at the lab. We tend to focus on the human body for forensic casework, but a forensic anthropologist can also be somebody who's looking at, cultural and language translations in the courtroom, or somebody who's working with a human rights organization. So it can be a few different things. But we do mostly find ourselves working in universities, government offices, for coroners or medical examiners, as far as like the ones, who focus on the body. But yeah, at our lab, the primary goal is assisting law enforcement agencies with identification of unidentified human remains. Or sometimes if they have the person identified, we'll help out with a trauma analysis of the skeleton.
Wow, very cool, very cool. So how long have you been at this? How long have you been working as a forensic anthropologist? Not just at LSU, but maybe as a whole.
So as a whole, I've been an anthropologist for about 10 years. But I started off as an archaeologist. So most of my work was before as an archaeologist. And then I've been a forensic anthropologist for about the last 4 years of it.
Okay, all right, very cool, very cool. And do you like what you're doing more now, or did you prefer the archaeology aspect of it, or a little bit of both?
They're different. They're very different, but
Right,
I do have more. There's definitely more for fulfillment with forensic anthropology.
Right,
Archaeology, yeah, archaeology can be fun, but forensic anthropology, I find that personally fulfilling.
Right. Makes sense. So what made you kind of want to make that switch? What was the spur that kind of brought you on to forensic anthropology?
Well, honestly, I started second guessing myself working as an archaeologist. I got bit by a snake. It was a copperhead, and I just didn't enjoy it as much after that.
Understandable.
So I thought, okay, well, I've got a really, unusual skill set, anthropology, skill set doesn't apply to much. So I wanted to stay in anthropology. I knew that. So I had to figure out a way to keep going along that similar idea of working with people. And I knew a little bit about the skeleton at that point with archaeology, and also how to work outside and just deal with that. So yeah, I started transitioning into forensic anthropology by going to school at LSU.
Ah, great. Go Tigers. All right, so why don't you go ahead and walk us through what a normal day at the job is like for you?
Well, there is no normal day. Like, very little, yeah, very little is actually scheduled. So we're constantly juggling casework. Some people teach. We work with students in the lab. We'll have crime scene recoveries, working with law enforcement agencies. Sometimes people in the lab have to communicate with the public or media requests. We'll host professional workshops. Like right now, I'm doing something for public outreach.
Right.
We'll also do bioarchaeology cases sometimes, or projects in the lab. So we don't just do forensics, we'll also do like historical or prehistoric burial analysis. So yeah, it's just what's ever being thrown at you. You're putting out little fires all the time. Your checklist is always growing. And you're just constantly trying to work your way down it. Yeah.
Oh,
but
yeah.
There is no normal day.
I understand. I get it. Same here.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you say are your favorites, and if you have any least favorite things about your job?
I really love anthropology. That's kind of a nerdy, embarrassing thing to admit to, but I very much enjoy learning about it still, talking about it, thinking about it, trying to develop my ideas on it or how I work with it and how to apply it. So I do enjoy like just the broad, field. But I would say my favorite thing about this position in general, or specifically, would be the public service component. I get a lot of enjoyment when you work, like your work or whatever you're doing in the lab helps somebody find closure.
Yeah.
So that's very, very fulfilling.
And any least favorite things, maybe?
I'd say least favorite would be forensic anthropologists don't make that much money in general. A lot of people think we make tons of money, but it's on the lower end of salaries. So yeah, I'd say just like the national, average for income for us is not fun.
Right.
Because it's more of a public service tier.
Yeah. But they say you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. So
yeah, and
at least that's what my dad says.
Yeah, and not all of the pay really comes from, like, it's not all just money. Like there's a lot of payoff with helping people.
Right.
So it's also that's also a bonus.
Yeah. All right, let's see, what is next? Do you have any hobbies, whether they tie into your job or not?
I do have hobbies. They don't relate to work, really. I tend to avoid crime drama, like when I'm not at work. So I do love reading. I love going to thrift stores. Oh my God. Traveling is a big one for me. I live for vacations.
Oh yeah.
That is I love it. I love going to new places, seeing new things, seeing different types of people, just all that.
So, what was your favorite subject in high school, and kind of what did you study in college, and did that kind of steer you toward your career path?
Unfortunately, I didn't really like school until I got to college.
Yeah.
I know that's not what people want to hear, but yeah, I was not a fan of school in high school. I just did, the best I could. But when I got to college, that's where I really started to get interested in the material, like the different classes that I was taking. So that's when I was first introduced to anthropology. But yeah, I got my bachelor's degree in anthropology. So that was my 4-year degree. I got that up in New York. And then I got my master's degree at LSU. That was also anthropology. And then when I was in school and at LSU, I was also working part-time as a graduate assistant in the FACES Lab.
Okay, okay. So that kind of got your foot in the door then.
Yeah, yeah, that was my introduction.
Right. Okay, cool. Cool. Very cool. All right. Do you have any funny or interesting stories about the job that you'd like to share?
Um, I'd say less funny, more awkward.
Uh-oh.
So I I hate any time that I've appeared on TV or in pictures of, news articles. It's awful. I'm not photogenic, so I always have
Yeah,
a double
same.
chin, even if it's like a photo from the back. There's always a double chin. It's very cringy to have to see yourself like in pictures or on TV.
Yeah, yeah, same, same. Um, this is a question from one of our teens, Lou. She asked, what qualities do you consider important in your profession?
Yeah, that's a good question. I like that one. Because typically people will focus on what degrees do you have to have, but they don't really ask what kind of person is best suited for this type of work. So you have to be um, very open-minded. Like with public service, you're not just serving the kind of people that, you're serving everybody, not just one group or your group or whatever. You have to be understanding of all different kinds of people, and you have to support all different kinds of people. You don't just get to pick and choose or have your personal opinions come in and, you know, bias your work. Um, you also want to have flexibility. So there's not that many jobs in the field. I've had to move quite a bit, even one time moving to a different country.
Oh,
So
wow.
that can be very hard for people who are wanting to stay close to family or, where they're from. That's very hard to do as an anthropologist, especially as a forensic anthropologist. You pretty much have to move, be prepared to move several times. And you also want to have a strong stomach. If you want to get into forensic anthropology specifically, you're going to want to have a strong stomach. We deal with, biohazard material and bodies of people who have passed on. So you need to be able to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say don't be sensitive, be flexible, be understanding. You also have to hang on to your ethics. You can't just ever see a bone is not just a bone, it represents a person, and you can't let go of that. You can't be too objective, hard science, because that'll kind of take away from the humanity of what we're doing.
Right, right. Let's see. I think there's only one more question unless anybody
Mhm.
in the crowd wants to ask anything. What advice do you have for teens, middle and high school students who might be interested in following in your career path?
I'd say, actually, there's two things I would say. First of all, you don't feel so much pressure about school and education and all that. You need to do the best with whatever you're doing, wherever you are. So it's not a good idea. You're not building yourself a good, resume, CV, record, whatever, by slacking off or doing things, halfway. You need to, like, whatever you're taking on, you need to do well and you need to work well with people. Um, but yeah, it's not all just about getting A's and getting degrees back to back. Like, I didn't start my bachelor's program, my 4-year degree, for like 3 years after high school because I just wasn't ready. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I finally realized I liked anthropology and went to school for that. And then I worked for a little bit after my bachelor's degree and then went back to school. I think that might have been like 4 years difference. So yeah, you don't have to pressure yourself into anything you're not ready for. I took time off. Um, but yeah, I just do the best I can wherever I'm at. But also don't get too caught up on the title. A lot of people want to pursue the title forensic anthropologist, but there's a lot of jobs in this field that are, going to give you like similar lifestyle or similar days to what we do. You could work for, you can apply to the FBI. You just need a high school degree for that. You can work for law enforcement. You could be a detective. You could work with a human rights organization. So there are options in the field. A lot of our students, they consider working as death investigators for either a coroner's office or a medical examiner's office. So yeah, don't get too hung up on the title and don't ever force yourself in any one direction. Just do what you're good at and what makes you happy. That's typically everybody's, like all the forensic anthropologists I know, that's kind of their backstory.
Right.
They didn't force it. They just did really good at, what they were doing and ended up here.
That is awesome. That is awesome. So let me take a look real quick and see if maybe we have any other questions from anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, any other questions? I am not seeing any other questions. So this actually did not run nearly as long as I thought it was going to. Did you have any closing thoughts, any little nuggets of advice or anything like that?
Yeah, a lot of what we do is misunderstood because of different television programs. A lot of students that I've talked to are high schoolers. They want to come into this field because of something that they saw on TV that they really, really thought was cool. And then when they get here, they realize it's not like TV. So one thing that I did to kind of prepare myself mentally and emotionally and just understand, do I have the stomach for this, is I volunteered for at a coroner's office just so that I could realize, like, okay, am I up for this? Can I handle this? Because yeah, TV will not prepare you for any of this. So don't let TV be the reason that you're going to school. Like, get in touch with either, you can get in touch with the LSU FACES Lab and ask questions. And we don't let people come in and watch us work in the lab because it is an active forensic lab, but we do work with graduate students and we have a volunteer program for undergrads at LSU. And there's more information on that on the website if anybody's interested.
All right. Well, that is absolutely awesome. I really appreciate you coming out and agreeing to talk to me about this. This was absolutely awesome. And I hope this was helpful to anybody who came in to watch this or is going to be watching this later on the library YouTube page. So I guess until next time, stay awesome, y'all.